everyone, and welcome back to another episode of One Infinite Panels. I'm joined by my co-host Jules.
Hey guys,
Yep,
we're
and I'm
back
also
sooner than you thought.
apparently a lot of things happened within the 2 weeks of was it late August we recorded episode 4?
I don't know, get serious.
Yeah, so we
It
recorded.
was early.
It was early,
It-
yeah. We got it earlier done than usual, and then a lot of crazy stuff happened. Crazy things like some the summer box office numbers came back, and the best movie of the summer, believe it or not, guys, you could lose your mind. It was Wonder Woman. DC
Wonder
actually had a good summer. That it won box office sales. People saw Wonder Woman.
for once, yay! What's next for? Oh, Justice League.
Yeah, yeah.
But yay, we get to enjoy the fact that DC did something right.
After
Well,
many terrible failures, many failures.
and one outburst from one director and a public apology from Warner Brothers.
And then Zack Schneider going super meta on us. And then the crying meme of Sad Affleck? Like Jesus Christ, that was so much.
2015 was held in to be a geek.
If you're a DC guy, it was hell for you. Most Marvel guys like we got all the movies.
But even just being like a comic fan in 2000 or 2015 or yeah, being a comic fan in 2016. 2000 no, 2016 to 2015, 2015 to 2016, yeah. When, Man of Steel, BVS, and the build up to BVS and everything, and everybody was basically tearing each other's throats out, and people were starting to question the critics, and it's like,
the blow about
yeah.
it though is that I think the problem is not to be political in general is that we notice there's a change where people are trying to silence the voices people talk about it. People are trying to silence critics for saying things are bad, or they're trying to silence the media for saying things. And I think it's a bad trend to go out because there's a reason why it's bad. Like for example, not to get off topic, another like BVS was bad, but also was a failure. The Inhuman series at Marvel, and not to get off top, and the critics said it was a bad movie, and it was bad. So what do you expect? The same thing with Iron Fist. Iron Fist was terrible, and he's trying to go fight against it. Like, there's a reason why. I'm not saying all critics are right, but there's a weird sentiment where like 15 critics are saying something's bad, and then you see it and it's also bad.
Yeah, and also, just because, they're critics, that doesn't mean you have to take their word as gospel all the time. We're not saying that you can't like this thing. If you liked BVS, that's not a problem, you guys.
But you should also be aware that it's technically viewed as a bad movie by majority for various reasons.
For a number of reasons.
Oh yeah, way too many.
The Dick Cheney reference?
Oh geez. Batman going Punisher for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, and tearing apart a couple of criminal cars, in a very brutal way.
And my personal favorite, Martha. I'm like, oh
Yes.
jeez.
The meme that will never die.
Yeah. Martha.
So,
But yeah.
Again, we're not saying that you can't like something that isn't popular, but gotta consider that it's not popular for a reason.
Right.
We're not saying it's a crime. Just, you're not gonna see good reviews from that.
Exactly. But to anticipate good reviews, on the other hand, Thor Ragnarok has high pre-ticket movie sales, according to various Marvel selling sources. And I didn't even know that pre-ticket sales was a thing for movies. I was unaware of this until recently. So it's
really?
like,
Didn't know that?
no, I actually, believe it or not, I thought the only time they do that was like for like midnight showings. Like you have to buy it a day in advance for midnight showings. I thought this was like people buying it that much in advance. I'm like, geez.
Well, when you put Thor and Hulk in a gladiatory arena, and people are going to start taking bets.
And shirts off, by the way. Shirts off. Just because,
Because, we have to, and, we want this rematch to happen, and you know how much the nerd community loves their fantasy fights.
Yes.
You know that tickets are gonna go sky high.
Oh yeah, and I have nothing but respect for Marvel for getting this out. I mean, that trailer must have been very influential in getting sales. I'm praying the movie is good. Um, I have faith that I believe it's Chris Hemsworth that plays Thor, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm proud. Hemsworth to me as an actor, I always thought he was stiff, but he's actually super funny. So I hope the movie's good, funny, and action wise. I'm really and honestly, if they're going to put Thor in space, I'm really excited they put Beta Ray Bill in there. I hope Beta Ray Bill pops up there somehow.
And a lot of you, I'm very sure, are making references to, let's see, uh, what was that story? Or World
Yeah,
War Hulk. A lot of people are gonna make references to that, or even to the Thor versus Hulk movie, which was okay, I guess. But oh my gosh, everyone's freaking out about Hel and the goddess of death who nuked Asgard apparently,
yeah,
and then
and that's a tough act to follow up. I mean, whew. Like I said, I think uh, for Marvel, this is going to be something that's going to be very hype to look up to. And I wonder, I think since at Warner Brothers in DC got the numbers before everyone else had numbers, knowing that they had a top selling movie, Wonder Woman, not to spike back, I wonder, is that going to change the way they direct the remaining of their movies? Or better yet, will it mean that they can take more risk with a lot of female characters, like Gotham City Sirens, or make a Vixen movie, or use Renee Montoya as the female question instead of using the male question character. And who knows? I mean, DC has a
we
lot of strong female characters. Let's be for real.
we better have a Birds of Prey movie, a good
Oh,
Birds of Prey movie.
oh God! All we need is like a decent woman to play. I'm more worried about who can play Diana and who isn't that old. And same thing with Batgirl. I think playing Catwoman is not Catwoman. Playing yeah. Wait, is it gonna be Oracle? Or is it gonna be Batgirl? I wonder which Birds of Prey they're gonna use.
I think it would be more appropriate to just let it be Oracle because I think it's Barbara's. I think I would have to say with comic readers, Oracle is her most recognized persona versus Batgirl because she was in the wheelchair for a very long time,
Yeah, I want to say about a
and
decade.
yeah, for about a decade, and I think that's when her character got the most development because first instance of a handy capable superhero, and
True.
she could still kick your ass even from the wheelchair.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's almost kind of good for DC, bad for DC. The fact that yeah, their movie did great at the box office, and yes, Wonder Woman was still a good movie. I
Oh, it
have
was.
I've done an entire vlog about it and gushing about it, which you can check out. But the fact that Marvel was able to jump in with the fact that just their trailer alone, did well in the pre-ticket sales.
Yeah.
Yeah, DC, you at least tried. You at least tried, and you did good this summer. Well done. Let's just hope for the best with Justice League, I try to say with a straight face.
Yeah. My thing though is that I'm worried about. I think like DC has done DC knee jerk reactions before. Like because BVS was too dark, they did like 20 different reshoots for Suicide Squad, and that that kind of hurt the Suicide Squad movie here and there.
Oh,
I
it
mean,
did.
Suicide Squad to me is like out of 10, it's like a 6.5 movie. It had potentially better, but it just wasn't utilized, in my opinion. It could do a sequel for it. I think a sequel is possible. Another fear I have is because of the great success of the Wonder Woman movie, I wonder will DC make a rejerk or want to make a rejerk reaction to the movies that are already in filming, such as Justice League, and I think they're making a Batman solo movie. I don't know if a Batman solo movie that's like in production hell or something. I have no idea the process, but will it affect the other movies? That's the thing I'm afraid of. I mean, I think it will affect it in a good way, but I don't want them to say because Wonder Woman worked this way, all our movies should be like Wonder Woman. You get what I'm saying?
And I would have to say that would be for the better because at least with Wonder Woman, the tone was at the very least, I would have to say the most balanced I've ever seen.
I
You know,
guess,
for a
but the
DC
reason why
movie.
I guess the reason why I say that is because the viewer will notice, like we all notice that it looks exactly the same, like they all copy pasted, as well as the same tone doesn't work for all the characters. I think the
Oh
Wonder Woman
yeah.
tone will work well in this. Believe it or not, I think it should have done that for the Superman movie. I think that works 100% well with Superman.
I don't know. I mean, when you're black and white and gray, it's like, aren't all these movies already looking the same? I mean, Wonder Woman had the only difference with Wonder Woman is that Paradise Island wasn't black and white.
I
Really?
can't. Oh,
Look
that's
at
a little too
it.
harsh, my man. I mean, I feel like Paradise Island was a great beginning point. It was a learning experience of what Diana wanted to be.
The fact that they had the sun,
The sun.
the fact that they had color,
Praise the sun.
the fact that it wasn't gloomy and gray.
Oh man,
That Do you know how many points I gave that movie just because of how different this was?
that's and guys, that's a pretty low standard of setting things. I mean, yet again, you can have insanely high standards of criticism. Like if you guys haven't heard on Twitter, Delkin Shalvey, a great artist who's currently working in DC. He worked with Warren Ellis on the Injection series, and he's currently on All Star Batman. I believe he's a fill-in artist. He draws in between what John Romita Jr. draws. Has recently released a Twitter, what he said on Twitter. I think Jules, you could take it from there.
Oh, from Twitter?
Yeah, I believe it's Twitter. Yeah, the thing on Twitter. It was super wicked.
Huh. But yeah, that kind of setting low standards when I compare just this one island being lit as the as you know, just me giving it points simply because one island was more colorful.
Right. And speaking of Delica Shivi, what he said on Twitter, I sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there because it's like taking criticism. He actually says this: "Good read. The amount of reviewers who lack any understanding of the medium they're supposed to be evaluating is staggering." And he quoted Chris Thompson from at Pop Culture Hound, inspired by Nelson Blake II, comic book journalist at AuggieDB, discusses why reviews need to understand how comics are made, and it links to an article by that. And it pretty much forces that if you do not have a strong understanding of comics like you and I have, and you have a set opinion, you shouldn't be a set way of thinking. You shouldn't be judging comics, and there are people that are fiercely mad at Adelkin for this, and there's some people who support it. Jules, how do you feel about this topic?
Can I read? Can I? This is what I was hearing once this is what was going through my mind when I was reading. No, wait, no. This was the tone that I was reading the tweet. It's like, comic reviewers should at the very least understand how comics are made, and they shouldn't talk about it without the proper experience. Blah blah blah. Okay, as someone who has worked in a publication before, who has freelanced for his local newspapers and magazines before, I do I do have experience. And yeah, some of that experience does help. It really does, knowing what a publication is like. But at the same time, you don't necessarily need that experience to understand how a story is supposed to flow. So you can
Yes,
still critique a comic and never have worked in the comic book industry before.
exactly. And the thing is that it creates, in my opinion, a sense of elitism that only people have the right to it. Only artists should judge an artist for art style or whatever. And it bothers me because I personally don't have that experience. I just read reading comic books my whole life. Jules knows me like off cast. He's like, dude, how do you know so much about like old school comic the stories? Because I've been reading them. I've read magazines, the stories, and I have an idea. I have an idea what I think makes a comic, and that idea is different on some people. Like Jules is more optimistic what a good comic should be. My opinion of a good comic is a little bit deconstructed. Like I love Criminal, Jules loves Superman. So it's like you can see we're two different spectrums, but we don't like. I don't crap on him for not believing my way is the best way.
Exactly. And sure, maybe we would you would maybe this criticism would have more weight if he was talking about people with very little experience. Like, let's say, no, not as an experience as in a publication, as in little experience in, like, if
Writing.
this in writing, or little experience in, reading comic books. Like, if this criticism, if some if someone was like reviewing a comic, but this person has only read like one or two comics in their lifetime, that criticism isn't really going to hold up, because, okay, what's your experience with comics? Oh, I just watched Variant. That's it.
Exactly. Or better yet, what's your experience of comics? I read one issue of um
Of
well,
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, or worse, is like, you know what? Believe it or not, I read that one-shot Archie comic. I'm like, that's not helpful.
Oh, no,
And the
no, no. I can make it even worse. Like, I just read the Wikipedia.
exactly. And the thing is that that's nothing. That doesn't count. And in my opinion, it's like I know a bad comic review versus a good one. Like for example, it's like when Ice, like it's like reading the reason why people hate Iceman, like because he's gay or he came out gay. Like that's the only thing you talk about. Like you're not talking about like Iceman's a bad comic because of this direction the story went, or this feels unnatural. You just keep saying he's gay. This is not the character should be. Blah blah blah. It's like that's not criticism. That's just complaining.
Exactly. And also, another way to tell if it's a bad comic book reviewer, that he makes it way too personal, or he like meanders a lot on one little thing.
Exactly.
I mean, at the very least, with other comic book reviewers, like, let's say, the Last Angry Geek over at Channel Awesome, at the very least he tries, even if he harps on something, it's at least only for like a few seconds, and he tries to make it funny,
Right.
to at least help the medicine go down. Or even like Lewis Lovehawk Linkara, it's like when they emphasize the negative, it's at least with a comedic sense. It's not
Right.
necessarily you're going to take it seriously. You're just going to laugh at it for a little bit.
Right.
You're not supposed to take that tiny thing that seriously.
Or better yet, it's like the buy pile on CBR, Comic Book Resources. That guy puts a list of what comics are rated, why is it weak, and like within 2 3 sentence bulletins, so you can get an idea of what he like doesn't like in books, and that's pretty good. And I think that's just the problem. I think Delkin is tackling a bigger problem himself, and he doesn't understand he's creating a sense of elitism that that destroys people, and also kind of harps on the idea saying that, oh, like you're trying to put the blame on someone else. Like it's like Frank Miller did to Brian Azzarello. We harp on this several times, but it's true. He actually said, "Oh, I didn't really write Dark Knight 3. It was all Azzarello. So when I write Dark Knight 4, it'll be all me." I'm like, "What? Are you serious? You just dump it on me? So should we? So we should just take the Frank Miller approach and just dump it on someone else? Like, it's not Delkin's book. The art's not good. It's the colorist. It's the letterer. It's the inker. It's the editor who didn't let me draw the extra panel, make it bigger. You
Oh
see,
no, it's the critics that defamed me.
exactly. It's like it's just making a terrible excuse for not understanding that there are going to be people who don't like your book, and there's people who have criticisms of your book and why they don't think it's great or not. And you should take that with a grain of salt. But you should also take it the grain of salt a little more seriously when more and more people are speaking the same tone of it. Like we discussed earlier about how much we didn't like BVS. Yeah, it was really bad. It was really bad as a movie, and the critics all had the same themes on top of each other. Why it's bad. So people should take you. DC and Warner Bros. Took notice of that, and then we got Wonder Woman. So
And what what Shelby did was basically psychologically projecting. That's a sign that this is a person who can't really take criticism and would rather project his own insecurities onto other people. rather than face his own problems. Like, you ever come across those people who will try to nitpick your problems whenever you try to call out their problems? Yeah, this is what
Yeah.
you're dealing with.
The thing about it is, like, I personally like Delkin Chevy as an artist. I enjoy his work in Injection. I think he's currently, no, he's not the artist. He might be an artist in one of the Watchmen books, and he's on All Star Batman. I mostly love him for Injection. I think he's amazing. But I didn't know this much about him as a person, and it kind of makes me think differently of him because now I feel like if I ever beat him at a convention, I'd be like, hey, you know what? I don't think you're really good at drawing, let's say, hands. I would say, hey man, you ever notice how you draw hands? They look too flat. If I say something like that, he might like stab me or something. But I won't say that to him because I actually like his art. But even the
No,
idea,
he'll just passively aggressively snipe at you on Twitter or something.
Lols. I don't know, but I feel like it's pretty scary to have that mentality, or better yet, project it. And he if you read the Twitter, if you read that tweet, which I don't know if he deleted or took it down. I have it saved on my phone. It's I'm afraid that the way he was arguing with people, and I think he had the intention of saying that there should be more educated reviewers or more educated people like you and I, Jules, who are aware of the industry things work. And I agree that's always a good thing, but at the same time, even with people who are most educated about the industry, like you and I, Jules, we're still gonna find things wrong with the comics or things wrong with the books.
Exactly. It's like our criticism isn't really gonna go away.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if I like whether or not we're you know what, it's like yes, the advice that there should be more well educated, well read and experienced comic book reviewers. Yes, that's always a thing. Experience in the sense that they know how to write, or at least experience in the sense that they've read enough comics to consider themselves a little bit of an expert. Then yes, that is always something that I encourage. But saying that you need to have worked in a comic book industry in order to actually critique it, no sir. No. It's it just kind of, yeah, it does create this sense of elitism. This is like the ravings that I would find from a diva artist in a sense. It's like unless you're an artist yourself, it's like you can't critique my work, and then they'll write sanctimonious pages on how you're silent, like how you're killing art or something.
and the worst part about it, though, is that they don't understand that a lot of intrinsic art styles people have a need for it. Like, for example, there are people who, like, believe it or not, as people make fun of people who have this, I want to say, life field style art where people are huge or whatever. People like that. I personally don't think it's great. I think it's bleh, it's 90s, but people like it, and I'm not good for everyone. It's people who like that Tumblr-esque cartoonish style of art that we see a lot on like comics like Lumberjanes, Giant Days. What's another one that
Um,
has that style of art? Yeah, Lumberjane, Giant Days. People like that set of art, and that's for
Kieran
them.
Kieran Gillen's
Karen Gillan's, yeah,
yeah, Kieran Gillen's Young Avengers, and
yeah,
Wicked and the Divine.
right.
That sort of thing is still good.
Yeah, exactly. Like people like to me, I like cartoonish styles. I like Paulo Rivera's art style. I love Matthew Semane's art style. It's really good art, and that's just my personal art style. Is just because I love that cartoony feel. It makes it feel like a pulp comic, has that sensation. And I also like some serious art styles too. It's like everyone has a sense of art styles they like, and even if they have preferences, they can see the flaws with like it's not that good or this is that.
And also, as a good artist, you should be open to it. And also, even if you think it's like offending, if the criticism is offending you, then just ignore it. Then just only take the ones that you think are constructive. That's what I do.
Yeah,
Like whenever I receive criticism, whether it's on my work, it's like
exactly.
if it's the basic tools of at the very least, if you're a moderately intelligent person, you know how to filter out the bad from the legitimate criticism.
Right.
Here it's like he never wants to hear it. This is like, again, I hate to use this word, diva artist, where if you dare criticize his work, he's going to write sanctimonious pages about how you're ruining his creativity. It's the
Right.
Zack Snyder
And the worst part,
approach.
he is an acclaimed good artist. He has achieved I want to say, the critical platform where he's well respected. I think he currently is at DC, and I wish nothing but success for him. I think he's going to have a good career. But it just feels like this is the odd thing to do, especially in situations you point out, artists, and these diva type artists are the ones that people who start out who just got their art degree, who top of the world, and not to purchase stereotype, you would think it'd be these guys, but no, this is a guy who's accomplished who may have this attitude, which is kind of disturbing.
And also can see this kind of not just with just graphic artists. You even see this attitude even like among cosplayers, where you think that they're entitled to your praise 100% of the time, but the moment you criticize them, they'll go on a tantrum.
Speaking of tantrum, man, did you hear about Auburn Citizen at IDW? I can't believe he just got fired. It was crazy.
Yeah, and isn't IDW the very chill kind of people?
Yes, they are. I mean, if you guys don't know, IDW is famous for printing comics, Transformers, GI Joe, several other independent books.
Star Trek, My Little Pony. They just did ROM.
Yep.
They've been with Hasbro for a long time.
Yeah, they have a lot of Hasbro titles. I think they have some Cartoon Network titles here and there, but
There's some.
Yeah, and I think they also have some other smaller printing arms. They print some, original concept books, and they also print.
They did the Doctor Who comics.
Exactly.
They're still doing the Doctor Who comics.
Are they? I thought they got bought by Titan. I think, or maybe some of them. It's a tricky business,
especially when you're trying to fight over Doctor Who.
Yeah.
If you think the fight over Spider-Man was something, the fight over the rest of Doctor Who comics. Yeah. But yeah, Aubrey Sitterson, if none of you know, he has been working on the G.I. Joe comics, or at least one in particular, G.I. Joe. And he had something to say around 9/11 of this year. Would you like to read the tweet, Matt?
Oh, jeez, I don't think I can handle it because he's such a tool.
Well, okay. Basically, should I read it?
You know what? I read the first one. Let me pull up a tweet and I'll read it in a sec. But I
could pull it up.
Listeners, you got to figure it out. He is a super tool.
I got the tweet right here. Should I read it?
Go for it.
Oh, well. Aubrey Sitterson on Twitter on the day of 9/11 of 2017 had this to say. Oh, good. It's self-centered national tragedy remembrance from people who weren't even anywhere near New York City Day.
Oh, my God. And the messed up part is I'm from New York, and I felt so offended by this. It wasn't even funny. Guys.
I'm not even from New York, but yet there are a lot of people here on Guam who still pay homage to this day, to this day. Not like celebrate it like it's some sort of party, but as a day to remember a tragedy. Like a lot of, especially here on Guam, where we're currently being threatened with a nuclear missile from Kim Jong-un over at North Korea. It was kind of important to actually remember this day because, terrorism, the loss of innocent lives, the many effects that we're still feeling today.
Yeah, and the messed up part about it, it's like, Citizen, STFU, bro. Seriously. I mean, people want to pay homage and respect that a tragedy has happened, and they want to pay their respects to the people who died from the attack, people who died trying to save others, the first responders, the policemen, the firemen, all those people all those things tragedy happened, and let them pay their respects. I'm not saying they're not ever going to understand like being attacked. It is a terrible thing, but let them show respect. It's called humility. It's called empathy. It's a basic human thing.
It's like and feeling to this day that a lot of people can sympathize with. that
And
even if you never lost anyone that day, if you were never there, you can still empathize with the fact that it was a tragedy.
yes, and the worst part about it is that the fans outraged about this, and IDW, being the responsible parent company, just let him go because, yeah, man, you're ruining our product. I'm not saying that you can't be political about this, but there's tons of people who are political writers who have jobs in the industry. Is that learn to know how to speak and dial it down. You could have. There's many ways you could have answered this. You could have said, "Hey, man, if you really want to help New York during 9/11 day, donate to the first responder fund so they can get health insurance because those guys still don't haven't received the health benefits after risking their lives. So the 5 years, 6 years later."
Oh yeah. And or you could go visit the memorial itself,
Right.
or
Or if you
hold a
really want to help
vigil.
current tragedies, donate money to the recent hurricanes that attacked Florida, the Caribbean, and Texas, like Harvey and Irma. They just wrecked things.
Exactly.
You could have just said that, like think, but no, you decided to open your mouth and be a colossal prick, and you deserve losing your job at IDW. I'm sorry. And things that IDW, again, is a very chill company. They have a lot of people who I like, nice people. I met Kelly Thompson works there. She wrote Gem and the Holograms, and she's currently at Marvel. I mean, it's a great company where Jim Zub worked there, I believe, at one point. Wrote Samurai Jack, and then he's working at Marvel.
Oh yeah, Samurai Jack.
Yeah, so it's like IDW to me is like not to say oh you'll be back. IDW is very chill. They have a lot of good relationships with their editors and workers who work there, and you ruin that because if you just did the right thing and you know worked at IDW, you could have got a job at Marvel. You could have got a job at DC. You could have went independent. You would have had something on your resume. But now we all remember you as this colossal prick.
Yeah, this is not gonna go away. This is gonna be on your record, dude. I
Yeah.
mean, seriously, you don't get to judge how who can or who can't show sympathy for a tragedy. It's like saying, "Oh, I can't feel sympathy for the people in the Orlando shooting last year
Oh,
just
that was
because I
terrible.
wasn't anywhere." Yeah, I know. Like 53 people in a gay bar were killed.
Yeah.
Two of them were also going to get married soon.
Yeah.
You
And
don't
it's
need to live there to know that this was a tragedy.
And the worst part about it is like, I mean, as like I said, not to brag about my heterosexual lifestyle, but I'm a straight dude, and I felt this pain because it's like, dude, these people were just trying to have a good time, and they got murdered for it. What the hell?
So, Mr. Aubrey Sitterson, you don't get to dictate who can show genuine empathy.
Right. And speaking of empathy, we here at War Infinite Panels would like to give uh, prayers and thoughts to Len Wein's family and friends. Len Wein recently passed away, and he was a great editor for DC, Marvel. He's created many comics. He's famous for a lot of things. Swamp Thing, working with Marv Wolfman and George Perez, creating New Teen Titans. He was a close friend to many people, such as Chris Claremont and Paul Levitz. If you guys follow Paul Levitz on Facebook or Twitter, he'll have a couple stories written up. You can read about his relationship with Len Wein. Len Wein lived his life to every day because he was when he was younger he was diagnosed with an illness and he was afraid he was going to die. So he just lived everything to the fullest, and he didn't pass from that disease. Something else got him. But yeah, I have empathy for a man who, in my not to stand on high school, is my opinion. Len Wein is that he's how you look at him is how he is, and I feel he was a great contributor to the industry, but he also was responsible for some stuff like, having some backlash for creators. And I feel like that happens to a lot of people working in this industry. And I still want to give my thoughts and prayers and condolences for the loss to his family and friends, as he was a pivotal pillar of this community.
Oh yes, he was, and
Yeah.
and anyone who can give Hugh Jackman a massive career boost, yeah.
Yeah, you guys may not know a small tidbit. He's actually one of the creators of Wolverine. Yeah.
And it's a shame to lose any pillar of the comic book industry, really, especially as someone as influential as this.
Yeah. And if we were jerks, we had no empathy, like Citizen. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, uh, don't try to. And also, if you do try to track down the Arbor and Sitterson article, don't try to compare him to diversity in comics because that's a whole new evil in on itself.
Pretty much. My thing is that, like I said, it's like, but not, it's not saying a high horse or anything. Like, it was just that it just sickens me to the fact that you're trying to dictate who have empathy or who can't have it, or and it creates, like I said, you're trying to create elitism for emotions. Why would it's
That's
like
even
Delkin.
worse than the other guy.
Oh, that's
That's
even
even
worse than
worse than
Delkin.
Shelby.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
worse than him.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's a terrible thing to do. And if you guys listen to our podcast, you can have differences of opinion with us, but we don't own comics. We just really love them.
Yeah, we don't really dictate your opinions
Yeah, if
unless
you're
I
that
say
guy
so.
who's buying, you know, what's that comic I hate? So if you're that guy who's buying every Master Race 3 print there is in the deluxe editions, you could be that guy. Just don't talk to me in public because you might scare me.
Or if you're the guy that would proudly say that Holy Terror is a masterpiece, then
Or better
it's best.
or better yet, you're the guy who says Jeff Loeb's Ultimatum was the best issue of comics in the last 5 years. Exactly. And that's enough of us giving you bad recommendations. Here's our real recommendations
Yes, yes,
for this
good
time.
recommendations. Good recommendations. Don't ever remind me of Ultimatum. Don't ever remind me of that.
So, Jules, give us your recommendations.
Okay, for something fun. Okay, so I was going to I am actually still going to recommend this. I actually thought we were going to talk about the diversity in comics guy, but uh I'm still going to recommend this either way. Miss Marvel No Normal volume Miss Marvel Volume 1 from 2014 No Normal. I reviewed this a while back in 2014 for my local paper, and I'm just going to repeat what I said before. It's still a good series. The artwork is very organic, it's very clean, it's also kind of fresh and new. I think it was the start of when we were seeing the more of the Tumblr-esque kind of artwork. And of
Yes.
course, the writing from G. Willow Wilson is still brilliant. It breaks away from several superhero cliches, like we don't see a supervillain right away. She's not forced into some sort of supervillain conflict, just a normal teenager with a little bit of angst and getting superpowers, but from a different perspective that we're not used to. From a Pakistani teen grew up in New Jersey. Her family is Muslim, and it's a different flavor of what we normally see whenever a teenager gets superpowers. And it's still and the first volume is mostly about her getting used to her new abilities, discovering her image and everything, and also the fact that she is very just like with Wiccan and Hulkling, her nerdy mannerisms make her very relatable to a lot of the readership. The
Yeah,
fact
and
that
it
she writes Avengers My Little Pony
slash
fan
fix.
fiction,
Yeah.
Avengers slash fictions, and the Avengers saving ponies.
Yeah. I think it's that she's just a really endearing character. She represents, I want to say, I guess this generation or slash our generation of what we are in the sense of how good liberalism. And the reason why Jules recommended 2014 is because this is the beginning of everything. It's the beginning of the entire run. If you like this, you'll like the rest of it. You'll go out and buy the rest. And I'm very happy that Marvel has given G. Wilson to let her keep doing it. I mean, she worked with many artists. She worked with Alfonso, the
Now,
first artist. She worked with Miyakawa, who had that Tumblr X Japanese anime style, which is artistically it's a good book, and I would recommend it as well. But Jules took it from me. Thanks, going.
we get to further down the line. You are going to see a parrot, Thomas Edison.
Yeah,
I'm saying that now.
it's awesome.
You will love it.
Yeah, it is awesome. And here's another thing. Speaking of recommendations of awesomeness, I would definitely recommend. Believe I'm going to recommend the Iron Fist. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Not the TV show. The new Iron Fist series that recently came out in 2017. It's Ed Brisson and Mike Perkins is an artist. Ed Brinson, if you may not know him, he's a pretty good writer. He was an image writer who's now working at Marvel. He's written a series known as The Violence, which is a pretty short miniseries about a man who's really messed up in life, and it's pretty good. But he takes that same approach to Iron Fist, and the first 5 issues contain the first trade came for 5 issues that has him just beating up other kung fu masters. It's just a classic Iron Fist story. I recommend it. And Mike Perkins' art's pretty good, very detailed.
It was definitely something that I wasn't expecting from an Iron Fist series, actually.
Yeah, because the last Iron Fist series, The Living Weapon, was way too meta and way too dark. I didn't like. I don't know what they were doing with Kyrie Andrews. I got nothing against it, but it wasn't my cup of tea. Like I read classic Iron Fist from the '70s. I read Power Man Iron Fist, and then I read the Immortal series, the Immortal Weapon series, the Immortal Iron Fist, and I was like, this is gonna be
Yeah.
awesome. And then I read Living Weapon, like, no, this is bad.
Yeah, it wasn't. It really wasn't. Ah,
Yeah,
it's like I think a lot of people would like to forget about the Living Weapon. It's like, this is Danny.
yeah, he's
This is
way too depressing.
like I know he's had brooding moments, but what?
Yeah, he was like Batman brooding bad.
Wow, I thought he was kind of more chill than this.
Pretty much. Yeah, and Jules, recommend you won't get on with your second book because if you steal this another book from me, I swear to God, you're so fired.
Oh, is it Blue X-Men?
And all right, everyone, that is the final episode of the War and Play Panel podcast.
No,
Jules,
no,
this
the
has been
fact that we
everything from
both.
me. I'll see you guys in the next 5 years.
No. It should be a sign the fact that that we both like this book. Then that we were both thinking about it. We were both gonna recommend it. So
Oh,
that
okay.
means this
Now
is a
you
good
both
one.
were, or you just Jean Grey did and stole it from my use your sight, honey, steal it from my mind. I'm going with that.
I kind of like that about this Jean Grey, where she just casually invades your mind, but in a hilarious manner.
I think she's clumsy while doing it. I think that's pretty much the part I like about it.
Where it's not, actively invasive, kind of like when she outed Bobby, where, that did feel a little bit invasive.
It would have been much better if she was empathically feeling for him. Like say Bobby was crying about something and she hugged and then she accidentally noticed something and then her powers kicked in and then she realized. But again, whatever, Bendis, you're not good at writing kids.
Yeah, because, well, let's see, invading people's privacy at this age, yeah, I could almost believe it.
Yeah.
But dang, outing someone with very sensitive information, yeah, Gene, yeah. But in X-Men Blue, X-Men Blue Volume 1, she's not terrible. In fact, she's almost a decent leader at the very least than I've ever seen Jean in a while. Like the Jean being a leader. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird.
I think it's also fitting because trying to also run away from a destiny being the Phoenix,
Mm-hmm.
because she's aware of it. I think Colin Bunn does an amazing job playing with all the dynamics of the characters in that series and with
Oh,
their new
it's
changes.
Oh, and speaking of dynamics, even though Gene is in charge, there's someone else pulling the strings, or shall I say, pulling the metal, if you know what I mean.
Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, that dynamic I actually really like it. And also with all the meta stuff with, they know their future, and which means that there's just going to be more storytelling opportunities down the line. And I will have to say, sorry guys, I like this book a lot better than X-Men Gold. Gold, even just the first issue just feels so depressing.
I think
But
that the problem with X-Men Gold is I'm going to give it a second trade before I start being heavy on the criticism and start dictating it. But X-Men Gold is suffering a problem where it's not compared to Blue. Blue is all new. Gold doesn't feel all new. And the thing is that these are both the X-Men quote unquote flag series of the X-Men line right now.
and you don't really want to have that comparison between the two, where it's like one is fun, the other one has no idea what it's doing, and it's dreary. Like that's what when you read the first few issues, it's like, oh, they're saving the day. They still sound angry. Oh, they're playing baseball. They still sound angry, and they're dealing with debts and stuff. Oh, they're trying to enjoy time alone. They're still angry. A lot of it I
I,
just
I,
couldn't.
I also kind of blame at the time. We talked about this in the previous podcast. Saif was the artist. He is very
Yeah.
bad at facial expressions. Everyone looks pissed off all the time.
Yeah. That's a thing. I mean, aside from the Muslim quote, the the Quran quote, you know,
His art's actually not that great.
yeah, especially even with the fight scene, that was just very bland.
Exactly.
It's
But luckily they switched artists since then. I think Ken Lashley is drawing bits of it, and I think the current artist I want to say is RB Silva. I can't confirm, but they switched out a bunch of artists. So I'm gonna give it a second trade. The second trade is not good, then I'm gonna start dropping the hammer.
yeah, but X-Men Blue is definitely it's not necessarily what I would say a new reader friendly because obviously you have to do homework. It all it does is just put up those those very helpful text boxes like name, powers. That's it.
Well,
It
look,
doesn't
if you buy the
necessarily
first trade of X Men Blue, on the first
then
page before you turn it, it tells you what books you need to read. Which I recommend. Do not read the Bendis All New X Men. Just read the Dennis Hopeless All New X Men, and you'll be fine.
yes, and you'll be fine. Which even though I would prefer that you would explain backstory, for new readers, especially if you want a flag book to do well, like explain, who these people are. You don't have to do it in depth, you just have to do it in a few lines. I guess since these new X-Men have been around for a while and you're not going to explain it within a few sentences, like these are X-Men from the past and we're totally not screwing up history right now.
Yes, or explain how Beast got new quote unquote powers, but that's a whole different thing. Like I said, I still have much hope for X Men Blue, and you and I are both thinking it. This is
Oh, yeah.
definitely it caught everyone by surprise. I want to give a huge credit to Colin Bunn, the writer, and his artist Jorge Molina. I think he's stepping off the book for someone to take over, and his art was amazing.
Oh, trust me, his fight scenes were way above way above X Men Gold.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think Jorge Molina, as the artist, is stepping off the book. I think he's stepping off the book, and there'll be a new artist taking over. I don't know who that new artist is, but I still have much faith anyway because Colin Bunn's writing ability is amazing. I Not to oversell him, I feel like he's really good at using the X Men play box really well, and I hope he stays for a long time because I feel like he can do what Chris Claremont or Josh Whedon did for the X Men and help reinvent that box for a new generation.
Oh, definitely, especially with the quote unquote original X Men. I can't call them all new X Men. The
No,
original X Men. This, if you were gonna reinvent the X Men, this is the opportunity.
definitely. And speaking of reinvention, or trying to, one book I'm recommending is the new Kingpin series, Born Against Volume One. This is not the Civil War series. This is post Civil War, done by Matthew Rosenberg and Ben Torres is one of the main artists. It's a really good series about learning who the Kingpin is. He's trying to reinvent his identity, but he can't seem to get away from his violent past, and it's just great. I think I'm just Matthew Rosenberg is if the Kingpin was a more ongoing series, he should be the guy. Or better yet, he should be the guy writing Daredevil. I mean, I nothing against Charles Soule, but this guy has a real sense of writing these ruthless criminal characters very well.
And just so that way the youngins can actually understand, no, the Kingpin was never really considered a Spider-Man villain. He was more of he
Daredevil.
was more of a Daredevil villain.
Yes, Kingpin appeared in Spider-Man comics as a villain, but later on, like mid '70s or '80s, he became a Daredevil villain, and mostly prominent during the Frank Miller run of Daredevil.
I
Sorry,
know,
yeah,
because a lot of people like are still surprised whenever I tell them, "Oh, he's a Daredevil villain. That's why he's in Daredevil." Yeah, people are still confused by that
pretty much
somehow.
somehow, and
But it blows their minds. But I watched him as a kid. He was in the Spider-Man. That was the TV show.
yes, and there's nothing wrong with liking it that way, but if you understand the Kingpin is more of a crime guy, Spider-Man has superpowers. It's kind of unfair.
Yeah, if you thought that he was like the Lex Luthor of Spider-Man, not
No,
necessarily.
that's Norman Osborn,
Yeah, that's Norman Osborn.
and
There
he's
you
crazy.
go. Yeah, he's more of the Lex Luthor.
Right.
But anyway,
And
I think that's all the time we have. Thank you guys. And if you ever wonder what was the point of the title, well, everybody gets one.
yeah, everybody gets one. And
Everybody
again,
gets one good movie. Everybody gets a trailer does exceedingly well, even better than the other movie somehow, just by the trailer. And don't be a callous, terrible person to people who just want to mourn 9/11 out of,
yeah,
respect.
everybody gets one criticism. Everyone gets one your colossal prick warning, and everyone gets to mourn the loss of Lane Wein. And and like I said, if you guys want to look up his works, please do. His some of his works still in print, I believe. His most recent Swamp Thing at DC is in print, the new one, not his old one, but you can check it out, and you can see why he was inspirational to the horror genre in that aspect.
Swamp Thing is very much definitely up the horror genre. I really recommend that.
Yeah, if you read Len Wein's horror, what you call it, Swamp Thing, you should also check out Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, and then you'll kind of
Oh
see what they.
yes, yes. Or even well, not the new 52 one. That kind of got boring over time. But the crossovers with Animal Man, yes, yes, that
I
was
did,
great.
that was great. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening to War of the Panels. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media. And be sure to follow Jules Chan and help him out on Patreon. Every dollar you give him is another dollar I can actually post this podcast.
Yay.
Yes.
Actually, that
Yeah,
is a
but
considerable milestone considering that if it do reach a certain amount, then I could actually pay my compatriots and also hire them as employees and possibly whip them even more.
yeah,
Because
that
I
mean
can do that.
yeah, meaning that he'll actually be able to hurt me. So if you give him money, he'll beat me up. So if you want, Matthew, that's me, also known as Gazillius, get beat up by Jules, give him money.
Because he'll be paid to do this. He'll be
Yeah, you'll be
he
paid to
just
do.
he won't be able to deny it. It's like, Matt, I'm gonna whip you. You can't deny this. You work for me now.
Part of me wish if I was a masochist, it'd be a dream, but it's not. Anyway, guys, thanks again for
All
listening
right,
to our podcast, and we'll see you next time. Later.
bye. I swear I'm not a sadist.